What's for dinner? It's a question I think everyone has asked at least once in their life. Food plays a very intriguing and intricate role in the theatrical play that is our lives. It's an actor with many lines and roles that no one seems to see. An invisible, yet very present and relevant actor. Everyone has a different relationship with food. Everyone takes a different approach to their interactions with food. For some, it is a way to express a deep-rooted, multi-generational tradition of their culture. And for others, it is simply a necessity to provide nutrition. Hello, I'm Cole Score, and welcome to my Masterworks on Conscientious Eating. If I'm being honest, eating has always been second nature to me. I never took the time to understand the fine print of this simple routine we do every day. Eat food. I doubt that I realized how intricate humans' association with food was until last summer, when my mom was diagnosed with celiac disease, an autoimmune disorder that causes an extreme intolerance to gluten. This development inspired a drastic change to take place in the Score household, forcing us to remove all products with gluten in our house. This included not only all foods, but cookingware, shampoos, and even envelopes, which had an adhesive gluten seal. We abandoned a previously conceived conception of what food was, along with 3 loaves from the depths of our freezer. The way that I saw food drastically shifted. Seeing that something like this could change the way that I had eaten for so long made me ask myself, how can the way that I view food improve my eating habits? And also, what am I going to eat instead of peanut butter and jam sandwiches every morning? Masterworks gave me a perfect opportunity to further explore this important topic, so I can apply my knowledge to what I eat daily and begin to remold my eating habits. What are the most important elements to consider when buying, selecting, or making food? This is the main question my Masterworks paper will explore, and I will be looking at 5 core perspectives that I think are most relevant to the lives of Canadians. In particular, health, ethical, environmental, cultural, financial. I will also be applying this to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, as well as a section on applying the knowledge that I've learned throughout this project. Eating is fundamentally different for every person depending on what perspective they take. Whether you're a college student paying for not only tuition, rent, and groceries, or you're a growing family of 4 with someone who's lactose intolerant, our food choices are important and necessary. We must approach eating conscientiously. The United Nations is a collection of 193 countries with the collective goal to improve our world and society. To this end, they have agreed to 17 clear goals to be achieved by 2030. These serve the purpose of improving our world. They address issues like poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. By understanding these goals and how they relate to eating food and our food selections, we can approach our choices more conscientiously and take strides for a better world. These are the main sustainable development goals I'll be looking at throughout my paper. Zero hunger, good health, climate action, sustainable cities and communities, and responsible consumption and production. Additionally, throughout this presentation, I'll be using this handy basket to illustrate some of my points. Imagine you're in a market. Whether you're aware of it or not, everything you pick up actually contains potential deeper thought. Let me explain. Health. The basics of eating is all about fueling your body. I'm sure I'm not the only teenager who tries to go through a block of cheese every week. There are basic nutrients that everyone needs regardless of the other lenses that they choose to look at food through. I'll first be discussing the importance of sufficient nutrients that can be found in food and the balance of the different food groups. Then I will talk about diet-based restrictions which pertain to these health concerns. Oops, that is wrong. The body uses 3 main nutrients to function: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. All 3 serve very important purposes and are digested into products that assist us in development and sustenance. Carbohydrates are directly transformed into glucose, which gives you energy. Fats are broken into fatty acids, which help us with cell structure. And finally, protein is broken into amino acids, which are the building blocks for hormones, muscles, and other proteins in the body. Additionally, the Canadian Food Guide is designed to help balance this. Half of the plate is divided into fruits and vegetables, 1/4 is divided into whole grains, and another 1/4 is protein-rich foods. With that in mind, we're now going to talk about specific disorders affected by the diet, by food groups and our balance with those. Let's first talk about cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular disease encompasses several conditions which all relate to the irregular behavior of the heart and blood vessels. It pertains to the buildup of plaque along the arteries. This is the plaque, this yellow stuff. So as the plaque builds up, the arteries narrow, meaning the blood is unable to flow properly throughout your body. The heart works harder to pump more. This can lead to heart attacks, strokes, blood clots, and even heart failure. Fruits and vegetables high in vitamin C can help prevent this, such as red pepper and oranges. Reducing salt intake reducing salt intake is important for preventing or managing a cardiovascular disorder. It's important to remove the salt shaker off your table and use spices as an alternative. For the first object I'll be putting in my basket, I've got broccoli. It's a vitamin C rich food that can be incorporated into many meals. Next, diabetes. Diabetes is a disorder that affects the way that glucose interacts with the human body. Glucose is the main type of sugar in the bloodstream. It is a vital source of energy for the muscles and tissues, Diabetes causes an abundance of blood glucose. In the pancreas, where insulin is made, insulin is a chemical that is, it's basically like the security guard at the beginning, or at the entrance to a factory. It helps make sure that the right materials enter the facility to be manufactured and altered. Diabetes is caused when the body doesn't make enough insulin and the body's cells become less sensitive to insulin. Without converting sugar from the blood into energy in the cells, glucose builds up in the bloodstream, creating many issues, almost like a traffic jam. To prevent and deal with diabetes, you should avoid sugar-sweetened drinks, white bread, flavored yogurt, and my favorite, unfortunately, sugared cereals. While we all love birthday cake, moderation is the key. Celiac disease. Celiac disease is a lifelong autoimmune disorder. It causes damage to the absorptive cells that line the surface of your small intestine. This is called the villi. The villi are responsible for absorbing nutrients and vitamins. The deterioration of the bowels is directly correlated to eating gluten. It's an intolerance of gluten. That's what Gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. Symptoms include diarrhea, intense abdominal pain, and problems with absorbing nutrients, such as protein, carbohydrates, or iron, for example. Unfortunately, there is no cure for this, but incorporating a gluten-free diet into your lifestyle and rethinking your diet is beneficial. Sources of gluten include pasta and bread and sneaky thickening agents, such as salad dressings, sauces, and ice cream. The next object I want to incorporate in my basket is this gluten-free pasta. It's clearly labeled here. Otherwise, people with celiac disease can't eat it unless it's very clearly labeled. And finally, lactose intolerance. Lactose intolerance is the most common dietary restriction, with around 44% of Canadians having lactose intolerance. It's caused by an inability to properly digest lactose. Lactose is a special enzyme or special protein that's found in milk sugars, or it's milk sugar basically, and it's caused because you can't properly produce lactase, which breaks down milk sugar. Some symptoms include diarrhea, stomach cramps, bloating, or gas. Avoiding sources of lactose is vital. Modern grocery stores usually will have specific sections for lactose-free products. Some alternatives to food include oat milk, almond milk, and even lactose-free milk. The Sustainable Development Goal that eating with health in mind relates to is the Sustainable Development Goal number 3, good health and well-being. It's all about making sure that people can live healthy lives, no matter their age. It focuses on fighting diseases and disorders and helping promote better eating habits whilst educating people. Part 2, ethical. In modern society, it's important to explore different points of view and educate ourselves in order to better the impact we have on our world. In this section, I will be exploring both animal cruelty and genetically modified organisms. Over the last 300 years, the population of humanity has risen exponentially. The Industrial Revolution has changed how we live. Based on the principles of supply and demand, big corporations have started incorporating what's called factory farming. Animals are often kept in confined spaces without fresh air or sunlight, and their behavior is altered with stuff like beak clipping and hormones. Some people find these practices inhumane and choose to avoid meat products or buy from from animals raised in better conditions. This is better known as free-range products. Unfortunately, stopping factory farming right away isn't actually a reliable solution because it'll cause economic problems and food shortages. These farms are cost-effective and provide affordable food for many people. Carefully considering the economical, ethical, and environmental impacts and finding better solutions is far more important. But unfortunately, also, some people can't just go vegan because of heme iron and heme iron deficiencies. Heme iron is found in blood, and it's a protein that contains way more. Protein. Nutrients are. Some people need to eat meat for health reasons because it contains specific nutrients like heme iron. Others can get nutrients from plant-based sources, but they need to plan their diets properly. Without proper planning, vegan or vegetarian diets can lead to many health issues due to protein and iron deficiencies. Consulting a registered dietitian is important for guidance. Item 3. These are free-range, locally grown eggs that I'll be adding to the basket. Humans have always been driven to innovate and improve their lives, from simple conveniences like the reclining chair to more complex creations like genetically modified organisms. GMOs allow us to manipulate nature by altering the DNA of organisms. However, GMOs are a highly controversial topic with heavy restrictions, even in prominent alliances like the European Union. One ethical concern surrounding GMOs is the fear of interfering with the natural order of life. Nature has a way of eliminating and creating life, and some worry that tampering with this process is very unsafe. However, there are valid arguments on both sides of the debate. Let's explore some of those. First, let's cover the pros. There are notable benefits to GMO technology. By adapting crops to resist diseases and pests, we can safeguard the food supply in regions heavily reliant on specific crops. For example, genetically modified eggplants in Bangladesh reduced pesticide use by 80% and increased overall yield. Similarly, GMOs have provided sustainable solutions for combating deadly viruses affecting papaya production in Hawaii. GMOs can also increase the nutrients or nutritional value of food, which is crucial considering the active malnutrition affecting around 800 million people today. Geneticists can modify the genome of food to enhance its nutritional content, potentially eliminating malnutrition and helping millions of people thrive. However, there are also downsides to GMOs. Gene flow. Gene flow is the accidental breeding between GMO and organic organisms. This can lead to unintended mutations in the genes of both plants. This is problematic because GMOs are precisely engineered to exhibit specific traits. Terminator seeds have been proposed as a solution to prevent gene flow, but their use has been met with public protest due to concerns around monopolization and the dependence on big corporations. Another concern is the loss of individuality and diversity in plants due to the mass introduction of a genetically identical product. This uniformity can make crops more vulnerable to new diseases, as variations in traits provide natural defense mechanisms. By eliminating these variations, GMOs leave plants defenseless against overlooked vulnerabilities. Regarding one's stance on genetic modification, it is undeniably has a significant impact on our lives. We must evaluate the moral implications and weigh the potential benefits against the possible harm. Considering the potential to combat disease in plants and address deep-rooted issues of malnutrition, GMOs can play a very valuable role in agriculture. In our fast-paced and unpredictable world, innovation is the key, or our key to adapting to the demands and challenges we face. Item 4. Here is a non-GMO produced cracker. It says very specifically on the label here, along with labels like gluten-free and organic. This section best relates to responsible consumption and production. It's all about making good choices with what we use and being conscious of how it's made. Part 3, environmental. The global climate crisis is an extremely pressing issue and our biggest concern at the moment. It is the consequences of humanity's careless and consumerist behavior. It affects every one of us. People are now looking beyond just eating for their health or to fit their budget, but also to help prevent climate change. Because food production plays such a huge role in the environment, this makes it important not only for us as a society, but us as individuals to seriously consider how we eat. It is estimated that around 60% of greenhouse gas emissions come directly from food production, with red meat being the primary culprit. Some environmental concerns associated with meat production include deforestation to raise livestock, which destroys ecosystems and releases large amounts of carbon dioxide into the air. Additionally, livestock contributes to around 40% of methane emissions, a potent greenhouse gas with much higher global warming potential than carbon dioxide. Cows release methane during digestion, making cattle farming highly unsustainable and environmentally damaging. Reducing red meat consumption is crucial to mitigate climate change. Whoops. While choosing a vegan or vegetarian diet can be beneficial to the environment, it is important to be aware of the downsides of alternative protein sources like soy products and beans, and their environmental drawbacks. Transportation and water use for these crops can also contribute to an ecological footprint. Nonetheless, limiting red meat consumption and finding alternative sources of protein is crucial. Incorporating tofu, which is a protein-packed food, instead of steak is amazing for the environment. Water use. Water use is vital for food production, but its excessive use in agriculture contributes to environmental problems. Global freshwater is likely linked to freshwater use is largely linked to agriculture, leading to water scarcity, especially in our agriculturally developed regions. Diverting water from natural sources like rivers and lakes reduces availability for ecosystems and communities. Additionally, agricultural runoff containing fertilizers and pesticides pollutes nearby water sources, endangering aquatic ecosystems and native species. Unfortunately, hydrophilic plants like almonds require substantial land and lots of water, driving deforestation, habitat destruction, and loss of biodiversity. Food packaging. Food packaging. Food packaging plays a significant role in the environmental impact of food. While it serves the purpose to preserve, sanitize, and facilitate transport, much of it consists of harmful single-use plastics and materials that directly harm the environment. Take ham packaging, for example. It extends shelf life, ensures sanitation, and maintains product quality. However, the issue arises when it is discarded. Despite the slow transition towards biodegradable and recyclable packaging, it's a continuous problem that we still face every day. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, in 2014 alone, 63% of the 258 million tons of waste generated came from packaging materials. The solution lies in the principles of reduce, reuse, and recycle, which consumers can adopt to minimize their climate impact. Reusing items through thrift stores or second-hand stores and participating in local recycling programs contribute to the solution. However, the most important principle is reduction. By consciously choosing to avoid excess packaging and taking the time to evaluate our consumption habits is of the utmost importance. Some important ways to reduce food waste or packaging is grow a vegetable garden, buy from bulk stores, purchase things with minimal individual packaging, and reuse packaging. For example, going to bulk stores all over the North Shore and using reusable containers like this. Food waste. Oops, no, should be eating locally. My bad. Eating locally has gained importance for its positive environmental impact. It reduces transportation needs, leading to fewer greenhouse gas emissions. The 100-mile diet, eating food within a 100-mile radius, minimizes carbon footprint by eliminating long-distance transportation. While eating locally means basing things off seasonal availability and excluding non-local products, it's supposed to be there. It offers numerous benefits. Even without strict adherence, eating locally greatly helps the environment. Finally, food waste. Food waste is a global issue with far-reaching impacts. Around 1/3 of the food produced every year for human consumption is wasted, resulting from spoilage, excess production, and consumer preferences. In the United States alone, approximately $133 billion worth of food is wasted annually. In the United States alone, approximately this waste comes from decomposing food in landfills to releasing methane. Additionally, food wastage only inflates hunger and poverty, particularly in low-income countries with limited access to food. By reducing food waste, we can improve food security by redirecting a surplus of food to those in need. Simple actions like having leftover lunches, practicing portion control, and buying imperfect produce are important to reducing food waste and fostering a more sustainable global food system. A good example of this is buying damaged fruit from local stores. For example, this pear, which has blemishes and bruises, is still perfectly good to eat. This section pertains to the to Sustainable Development Goal number 13, climate action. This goal highlights the importance of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and fighting climate change through small and big actions. Culture plays a major role in the way that we approach eating, our lifestyle, and our daily routines. In this section, I will be exploring how differences in culture lead to different diets and food choices. Staple crops. Staple crops are an essential food form that play a significant part in people's diets based on their location. They have nutrients like vitamins, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and minerals. Staple crops are cost-effective, nutrient-rich, easy to produce and store, and resistant to pests and diseases. Examples include corn, rice, soybeans, potatoes, and yams. Different regions have unique staple foods that influence their eating habits. Rice is popular in Asia, bread and cheese in Europe, beans and corn in South America, and yams and cassava in Africa. These cultural and geographic factors shape our dietary choices and contribute to Canada's diverse culinary landscape. Finally, religion. No, I missed that. Rice is a staple crop throughout all of Asia, and it can be incorporated in many different meals. Finally, religion. Religion holds a significant importance in the lives of many individuals, shaping their beliefs and practices, including their approach to food. Understanding various religious perspectives broadens our worldview and fosters a more inclusive society. Judaism follows the dietary tradition known as kosher. Certain foods are prohibited under kosher laws, such as specific animal parts, pork, and insects. Halal is the principle of Islamic law that governs the sourcing and slaughter methods of meat and animal products. Halal can be found in many grocery stores, and there are specialized stores that specifically offer halal products. And finally, in Hinduism, a significant number of people don't consume beef products due to a sacred belief that cows symbolize Mother Nature. Food is a vital Food is a vital part of our lives and culture, and it's fascinating to see how different foods are eaten more in different parts of the world. Every culture has unique culinary traditions. By understanding and appreciating these traditions and customs, we can help build a better world and appreciate the diversity of Canada. Sustainable Development Goal number 11. Different places have their own types of food. We can make our cities, towns, and communities better by understanding cultural roots and backgrounds. Final section, financial. Money is the gateway to the way that we live and governs our actions. I want to touch on some strategies that can help make eating more cost-effective on a day-to-day basis. One of the first steps of eating on a budget is to plan your meals. Planning your meals for a week in advance can and making a list of ingredients you need is super helpful. This will help you avoid impulse buying and prevent food waste. 2. Another way to eat on a budget is to cook at home instead of eating out. Eating out can be expensive. Cooking at home allows you to control the ingredients and portion sizes, which saves you money and allows you to eat healthier. 3. Batch cooking. Batch cooking can also help you eat on a budget. Preparing considerable quantities in advance can save you time and money and help you avoid the temptation to order, takeout, or eat out. You can prepare large batches of meals and divide them into individual servings to freeze and refrigerate for later. And finally, home gardening is a great way to save money on produce and taste just as good. Just like this lettuce that we grew in our garden in the spring, whatever. Sustainable Development Goal number 2 best relates to this section, zero hunger. It's all about promoting better eating practices so we can eliminate poverty on a local scale and a global scale. Applying my knowledge. Put your hand up if you've ever cooked a meal for your family. Yeah, most of you. Well, I decided to go back to my first question, what's for dinner? And think back, and I applied the knowledge that I've learned over the course of this project into 12 meals. However, for the sake of time, I'm only going to cover 5 in this presentation. Here are the requirements that I focused on. I began the initial preparation for my meal plan. I mostly focused on brainstorming. I began choosing which dietary considerations were most important to me: health, ethical, environmental, and financial. I came up with this list for my meals. They have to be gluten-free, because my mom has celiac disease. They have to be budget-friendly. I want to try and buy things in bulk so they can last longer, serve multiple meals, and are cost-effective, yet still meet my other needs. They have to be healthy, so I tried to avoid foods that have high fat, sodium, or sugar, and made sure to include veggies and fruits in every meal, along with a good source of protein. Finally, it has to be eco-friendly. I tried to avoid foods that have heavy impact on the environment, whether it be through water usage, greenhouse gas release, and I avoided things with large amounts of packaging. In order to build stronger, better diets, it's important to review what matters to you. By eliminating certain foods like bread and mayonnaise, which have high fat and contain gluten, and incorporating personal preferences, you can tailor your meals. Stretching materials across different meals reduces food waste, and meal planning ensures ingredients have a purpose. By the way, these aren't stock photos. These are photos that my dad took. Thank you, Dad. Like I said, I want to be able to stretch materials over the course of 3 days. So there are certain materials that I used quite often. Here are some of the examples. Chicken. Chicken is a protein-packed, healthy meat that is not classified as red meat, so it has less of a harsh impact on the environment. Rice. Rice is cheap and filling and easy to add to recipes. And finally, bell peppers. Bell peppers are reasonably inexpensive and nutrient-packed. Here is the meal plan that I did for the 12 days. Well, this is only 9, but I did 12. For this first supper, I made lemon roast chickens with potatoes and green beans. This was a good way to explore how eating healthily can bring out a flavor while using less salt and oil in your cooking. It's a great meal for having people over, and all those dates I see in my future. I chose this meal because it's environmentally friendly. Using chicken instead of red meat, such as steak, cuts down on the environmental impact. I bought chicken in bulk so there was less packaging and it was also more cost effective. Next, I made eggs and hash browns. It's a hearty, I hate that word, hearty meal that could work just as well as brunch. Eating this as brunch reduces the amount of meals that you might have to make. I choose this because it's healthy. Rather than a lot of salt, I use herbs and a sprinkle of green onion for flavor. Also, potatoes are an inexpensive breakfast meal. Next, I made chicken soup. Chicken soup is the ultimate comfort food, and I made a lemony, zesty version of this to bring out flavor while reducing the sodium. Excess sodium can affect your blood pressure and heart, causing strokes. Sometimes as a kid, I would fake being sick just so my mom would make this for me. I chose this because it's healthy. The carrots in this recipe are good for vitamin A, which contributes to healthy vision, as well as celery is a good source of fiber, all important for maintaining a healthy body. As well, I chose it because it's environmentally friendly. Extending the use of things such as a chicken carcass allows you to fully use an item. I chose veggies that were in bulk and tried to select ones that were locally grown. Chicken enchiladas. This was by far my favorite meal. My grandparents' friends always ask me why I'm so tall. It's because I ate half of this tray. I chose this because it's gluten-free. The wraps in this recipe are certified gluten-free. And finally, I made a muffin tin meal. This meal has been a staple of my household since I was a baby. I chose it because it's customizable. This recipe allows you to target individual needs, and it's eco-friendly. By using up all the leftovers from other meals, I'm able to prevent food waste, making it so less methane is released into the atmosphere. Looking back on my experience, I would say that I've learned quite a bit. I would say I'm a relatively inexperienced cook, so not only did I get a chance to greatly improve my cooking skills, but I also became more aware of things like carefully reading the labels to see what ingredients are, and other things like, does this have gluten in it? And I became more aware of checking items for certifications like GMO, kosher, and low FODMAP. This makes me more educated and hopefully a more thoughtful consumer. My family enjoyed my contributions, and I continue to see how food connects people, acknowledging the important social aspects of surrounding cooking. Looks like I'll be making a lot of meals for my family now. Perhaps this was maybe a mistake. Conclusion. Compromises, evaluation, and principles. I would argue that these are the three most important parts of eating. As we approach eating through the lenses of the Sustainable Development Goals, we can better understand how we relate our everyday activities to helping make the world a better place. Compromises. This is a huge focal in the way that we eat. There will never be a perfect diet. We have to adapt our beliefs to find a conclusion. It is a matter of individual evaluation. We should aim to do our best with any given circumstances, continuously striving to improve. Principles. If modern society has shown us anything, it is that there's a wide variety of beliefs and values present. Perspectives may overlap and or contradict each other, and it is the most important piece of the discussion, it is very important to discuss and explore different points of views. Everyone views things differently. Eating is different for everyone. Finally, reflective evaluation. I think that it is our duty as inhabitants of the earth to take on the responsibility to improve the way that we eat. We should strive to improve the way that we eat by making a conscious effort to be more aware of our choices and their impacts. This may be simply pausing before purchasing an item, looking at the value of the ingredients related to health, the cost, and how the packaging may impact the environment and making a better choice. We also have the power to influence food production on a more global scale by demanding producers to provide compostable packaging for their products. Personally, I would say that I could have written an entire Masterworks on every point that I talked about, but eating is a vast topic. I tried to cover things that I believe influence our food-related choices, food-related choices the most, and highlight the importance of eating conscientiously, because food plays a vital role in our lives. If we make eating a second-hand nature, we compromise our beliefs, the environment, our health, our finances, and our, did I say beliefs? I think I said beliefs. Food makes life possible, defines people, and unites people. Think before you eat. I would like to say thank you. Here, I'll I would like to say thank you to my external advisor, Tiffany, for helping me throughout this year and guiding me, keeping me on track, even though I veered off course a lot. I'd like to say thank you for Colleen, even though you're really busy. You took your time out of your day to give me personal advice and give me support. Thank you. I'd like to thank Jen Hendrickson. Not only have you taught me so much as a student, but you've also helped me grow so much as a person. I'm so grateful for all that you've done for my project. I'd like to thank my grandparents and parents for taking photos, helping me edit, help me, I guess, guide my project in general, and the rest of my family. Yeah, that's the end. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bravo, Cole. That was very, very enlightening. I learned a lot and appreciate the time you've spent investigating those many, many features of sustainable living. I love the way you circled back to the United Nations goals. Those are essential for each and every one of us in this beautiful chapel to be thinking about, because the greatest minds in the world came up with them, and they're real and important, and I do appreciate your commitment to them. So at this point, we are going to open up Cole's presentation to the audience. Thank you, Jen. And we'll welcome the opportunity. So as you are thinking about questions, we're going to prioritize to start, though, with our internal advisor, Jen. Go ahead, Jen. Good luck, Cole.
Sure. So well done. Your paper was lengthy, intense, and lots of research. So my question comes from that, because you covered a huge amount, as you said, and lots of different topics. So if you could concentrate on just one topic, like we had talked about in the beginning. Me, Tiffany, and I will talk about this one. What would you concentrate on specifically, and why?
GMOs. I definitely think that if I were to, it started as actually a science paper for our class, and then I just decided, why not I just incorporate this into my project? You know, it's an important way that we eat. Originally, it was just going to be about health concerns, because it started as celiac, and then I was like, you know what? I mean, it's kind of hard to cover eating without covering a wide range of things, but you know. I would definitely just making it more scientifically, I guess, guided, because I really like that. It's an interesting topic in general, GMOs.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, what a tension there between all the needs of the world and the advances in genetically modifying foods to help with those issues, but they present other problems likewise. How about Tiffany?
Now thinking on the fly with a new question.
Yes, good work.
Cole, first of all, congratulations. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Mr. Score.
Oh, Mr. Score. Which is kind of cool. That's not even my own kid's name. First of all, you thanked me for keeping you on track, and I don't think that you needed that. You were so focused on this all year, and you were so obviously passionate about your topic, because you went in so deep. And yes, that paper was massive, which is cool, and you proved that you really knew your topic, because you didn't even have the right script and you were able to wing it up.
Yeah.
So well done.
Missing like 5 pages from that script.
That's right.
Yeah.
So my question, actually Jim and I just discussed, because I was going to ask you, if you were going to do a part B, where would you take that? Mm-hmm. And I think it's awesome that you would focus on GMOs, because that is such a huge and complicated topic, and people mm-hmm. tend to just grab that as a bad thing.
Yeah.
What about organic food?
Yeah, I did cover that in my paper, but I cut it out. Just covering that organic foods not only have benefits for the environment, because it stops fertilizer runoff, because organic food is when the food doesn't have any pesticide or herbicide use. So it's better for the environment, because the runoff from those plants can cause algae blooms in local sources of water and damaging the environment. And also, I mean, it is more expensive, however, because farmers have to be more meticulous about the way that they grow the crops, manage the crops, harvest the crops. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's actually interesting you chose to go with GMO, because that's more controversial, and tricky topic to ask questions, answer questions about, so.
Yeah.
Good job.
You're welcome, Colleen.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Score, my question. First, I want to say I think you did a wonderful job exploring sort of the balance between all these factors and sort of the current things that we think about when we make food choices. Let's say we add time into the mix. Do you think these factors are going to change at all? Let's say hundreds of years from now.
Yeah, I think the three things that I covered were principles, compromise, and reflective evaluation. And I don't think that those three core principles will change, because if we look back even to the First Nations people, like the Cree in Alberta, they would hunt seasonally and reflect on their practices to make sure that they're sustainable and healthy, and everything all combined. I think that the way that we access food will change, and maybe local eating will become more necessary. I mean, it still is necessary, but even more so. But I do think those three main principles will remain the same. Yeah.
Well, we all know how important it is to be reflective, don't we, as IB learners? Yeah. And interesting connection to the practices of the First Peoples, thinking about what they've done. Nice. Okay, got some hands up, and as we go to the audience, I'll ask you just to come right behind Jen here, and that way the mic will pick you up, and our online YouTube audience will benefit from you. Come on up, Ms. Esteve Carrena.
Mr. Store, so you said that your food was your favorite one. Which one do you wish you could have done? Or like what food that you didn't do you wish you could have done? And which one was your favorite other than the one that you already did?
Kimchi fried rice was the one that I would have done, and I didn't get a chance to, but that is a really, really good breakfast food. I would have incorporated that, and then, yeah, that was probably, I mean, I've had that a lot, so that would be my favorite, I guess.
Come on up, Mr. Sarut. Isaac. Ms. Frida.
That was a great presentation, Mr. Score. I was wondering, while learning about these things, was there any food or food practice in particular that you didn't know how bad it was for the environment, or was worse than you originally thought?
Well, definitely water usage. I guess that's not something that you think about as much, because it's like you're not really involved in the production of plants except for unless you grow at home. But like just the way that they're made, I didn't realize how draining water usage is for the environment.
Well, that was an amazing presentation, Mr. Stephen Score. I learned a lot of stuff in that presentation. My question for you is, what's your favorite food or meal in terms of considering all factors, considering taste, environmental damage, affordability, and all that stuff?
I mean, if you think about it, all food can be with some exceptions, but in a sense, every food can be environmentally friendly. Just it's the way that you approach it, thinking about it, and I would say, I guess, enchiladas or tacos or something like that, like Mexican food. Yeah.
And my other question is, what's your solution to world hunger?
GMOs.
Tough questions from floor. Come on up, Julie.
Wonderful job, Mr. Square.
Thank you.
My curiosity came with the fact that you mentioned that if we all went on the 100-mile diet as a Canadian society, do you think that Canada itself, with the infrastructure that we have, would be able to sustain our population on the 100-mile diet?
I think so, but it really depends on the area that you're around, especially in Alberta, where there's a lot of crop, because of how flat it is, there's a lot of crop development, as you can definitely do it from there, but it really depends. Like the further north you go, so like the Yukon Territories, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, stuff like that, it becomes way less easy, because industrial farming takes such specific conditions, and farming on such a huge level, because food there is shipped and it's extremely expensive, a lot more money. But it was First Nations people for a long time hunted there, but now that our population has grown so much, it's way harder to accommodate that, even with hunting practices and stuff like that.
Yeah, great answer. And just to piggyback on that, in your research, do you know of a certain culture or tribe or anywhere in this world that is completely sustained on their own?
Well, I didn't necessarily focus on that, but I did talk about, like in a science presentation recently, we talked about biodiversity in First Nations people, and definitely just seeing that, like the Cree people, because our class as a general, we all covered different topics, and just seeing that the First Nations people were able to sustain themselves for so long before colonization was incredible, because they covered basically everything, you know, with nomadic lifestyle and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Love the way you're thinking about how we can learn from the First People's principles, and certainly as a school, we're trying to do that. Come on up, Ailey.
Fantastic job, Mr. Score, like information filled presentation you had.
Thank you.
Looking back and reflecting now, are you realizing that you maybe had any unhealthy
Yes.
habits around food? Do you want to share what they are, by any chance?
Eating, I mean, I drink and eat way too much dairy. And I mean, and like, I guess just dairy products in general are not sometimes great for the environment, but you know, in general, yeah, that's probably worst eating habit because it's very, like, you know, lots of cheese, very expensive.
Wow, I thought it might have been something else. Leighton.
Good job presentation, Mr. Score.
Thank you.
When you were talking about animal labor, a bunch of fast food restaurants rely on like all that. What would you think would be a substitute instead of the animal labor that was in there?
Well, like I said, it's really hard to transition away from that because so many economies are built on that, like, because it's such an it costs so much less to buy things that are in factory farms. It's way harder to transition from it, and it's less about like, it's more individual in the sense where if you're avoiding buying things that are like, well, I mean, again, it's really about personal evaluation, but buying things that are free range, even though they're more expensive at times, can be like, it's definitely helpful. And I guess there's definitely ways to petition for change in fast food restaurants for specific whatever, lost my train of thought there. Production, fast food production. There's ways to petition for better rights for animals in fast food restaurants, definitely.
Go ahead, Pam.
Well, I really appreciate, Mr. Score, so much, everything that you said. It's so important. It's such a challenging topic because you're covering health, the environment, personal choice, ethics. It was huge. I could see how it was really hard to narrow in. My question is, there's free range, there's free run, there's organic, there's biodynamic, there's GMO, there's non-GMO. For someone who doesn't have a year to study, like you did, to make all these choices, do you have a guide for people or some, like a golden rule of how to make those choices? Or is there a technology that can help you make choices about food?
There's definitely, on government sites, there's a lot of recommendations, but it's also not, it's about like thinking and eating a conscious practice, because the more that you make it like a second nature thing, like just not thinking about it, not looking at the food itself, it's more about things, because humanity has always fallen off when we make things not conscious. When we think about things and innovate, then we can solve problems. But when we leave things, when we don't think about things, when we don't consider every element involved in something, that's when we fall short. And I definitely think just making that conscious, practice.
Yeah, so we just try to inform ourselves as much as we can and educate ourselves without going crazy.
Yeah, without going crazy. It doesn't it's about like, and like I said, compromises. There's no way to have a perfect diet. It's more about incorporating things and trying to make a compromise, you know?
So thank you.
Great answer.
Sheila.
Business score on my favorite subject. There's one thing that really made me heartfelt about your entire presentation. You brought up a fruit. That was slightly strange. And as a culture, in North America anyway, we tend to seek perfection, which has created a lot of food waste. And I like the fact that you brought up the cremation, the fact that they utilize every part of the animal. My take from that is that as a nation, they are able to sustain their livelihood for as long as they have without zero waste because they work as a
Community.
which is something that we lack. So do you feel that it is up to the younger generation to maybe try and recreate that sense of community to lessen the food waste?
Definitely. Just, yeah, incorporating, like educating ourselves as a community, getting information that's reliable, that's definitely so important. And I mean, it's becoming, because of expansion of population, it's becoming way harder to connect with people in the way that the Cree Nation did or whatever, or specific indigenous tribes, but still connecting on the fact that we all understand what we're eating, why we're eating, blah, blah, blah. Like that kind of, just thinking about that is super duper important.
So how do you feel that as a school, after listening to your presentation, we could incorporate that?
Well, I mean, it definitely depends on what elements you look at. So I would say, like, definitely food waste is a huge, huge problem. And just, like I said, there's definitely, like, at local stores even, you can ask for, I don't know, I think it's called, what's the term? It's, like, fruit that's it's not bad. Like, blemished fruit, that's it, or whatever. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. But like even at local stores, there's definitely places like that. But just educating ourselves on those practices and bringing that into our houses and communities.
Cole, I'm Cole's mom, and I just want to say your dad and I are very proud of you.
Thank you.
We worked really hard on this. So my question is, what did this project, what did Masterworks teach you, or what did you discover, what insights did you have about yourself as a learner after finishing the project?
Yeah, definitely not procrastinating. That's a problem that I face every day. But definitely not procrastinating, because when I take full advantage of my time or go ahead of things, I become less stressed and I'm able to dive into a topic more, definitely.
Piper.
First of all, I really liked your presentation. It was very informative without being like a ton of information.
Thank you.
My question is, you talked about like buying imperfect fruit or like blemishes and stuff. But do you think that companies who buy like a bulk of imperfect fruits and sell them or dry them, do you think that that's an effective way to help with the food waste situation?
What do you mean?
There's certain companies who buy fruits directly from the producer of the fruits that they don't want to sell that have the blemishes are imperfect. Do you think that's an effective way to deal with the food waste problem?
Definitely, because a lot of times it's not even rotting. Like, it's definitely not rotting food, but it's food that has scratches on it. Or have you ever seen carrots that are like really like, instead of being the thin ones, they're like expanded or whatever? Definitely like that. Definitely helps combat climate change. Yeah.
And Juha.
Well done, Mr. Score.
Thank you.
Since your mother's gotten celiac disease, your whole family has changed to gluten-free. Is there a food that you miss about going gluten-free and food that you enjoy now because you are gluten-free that you didn't enjoy before?
Definitely. I definitely am gonna miss bread. But I mean, there's definitely like the gluten-free tortillas that we had were great. Like I think it's definitely a shift in like that, but I think, definitely I'm gonna miss bread, but honestly, it's not as big of a change as I expected it to be. It's still drastic, but it's not like negative in any way, I don't think, but yeah.
Welcome, Dad.
Congratulations, Cole. Beautiful presentation. Mr. Score. From one score to another. I hear, let's say IDLC or IPS was hiring you as a consultant to advise on their lunch program to improve the kinds of food that is served in the school program in the store. what would you say are kind of the 3 top things you would recommend for the school to consider adopting and changing?
So, I mean, I guess the Muffinton meals was definitely, like, that's always a creative solution to that. So, like, introducing like a Friday where they serve that at a cafeteria or whatever. Not specifically just IPS, but like that. Also, definitely things that are like that take less packaging, because I mean, it's more about finding things that are in bulk, and that's far more helpful than like, you know, it's more accessible just buying things that have less individual packaging. And then definitely making it healthy. I mean, I know this is like a simple one, but definitely like, because there's more regulations in Canada about this, about fructose and glucose, sugar, and that's important, definitely like lowering global obesity rates, stuff like that. Definitely making sure it's healthy. I know that's simple, but like definitely it's important. Yeah.
Adrian.
Mr. Score, I see we've taken pretty much all your time, so I'll try and be fast at this. I don't have a question for you. You answered it already. I wanted to draw attention to it because I think it was so insightful and important. It was the fact that you said we need to pay attention and be present when we eat. Mm-hmm. I think that lesson, that idea is probably the biggest lesson that we can take for any problem we have in the world. And it was so amazing for me to hear you put that so eloquently and so perfectly. That really is the essence of growth and is this the foundation to solving problems.
Thank you.
I think you did a phenomenal job. Well done.
Thank you.
We got to wrap it up, but I'll let our esteemed alumni finally have a voice here. Galen?
Incredible job, Mr. Score.
Thank you.
So you are the leader of Canada. Like, it's a dictatorship now.
Yeah?
No, yeah. Like, what's the one thing you'd change? If you have like unlimited power, unlimited money.
Surrounding food, right?
Food.
Yeah, okay, good. That's hard. That's definitely an interesting question. Like, I definitely think food waste, like I said, is probably the most important thing that from what I've seen. Just making sure that we aren't throwing out so much food based on, you know, and eating locally, even incorporating into that, because by eating locally, there's a longer time where it's got a shelf life. So by eating locally, when you buy food that's local, there's a larger window, so food doesn't spoil as fast. Definitely something like that, like eating locally, buying things within a 100-mile radius. Stop importing things like oranges from California or bananas and all sorts of stuff from around the world. Definitely limiting imports like that.